UFC 317, baby. It's this weekend, International Fight Week, and honestly, it's pretty average in terms of a pay-per-view. I feel like it's getting massively overhyped, and everyone's saying it's the best card we've ever seen. Man, you gotta raise your standards a little bit, but it is what it is. Hey, it is what it is, brother. And I feel like the fact that Costa versus Kopylov is off it definitely is a big hit taken off the card. But despite all of that, I feel like there's genuinely gonna be a lot of finishes on this card, a lot of excitement, and a lot of back and forth scraps. Like, it's not the deepest card and there's not a lot of name value, but for what it is, there's a lot of prospects and a great main event, and I feel like we're gonna get a lot of excitement regardless of the BS. You know what I'm saying? So today I'm gonna be giving y'all my full card predictions and breakdown for the almighty-ish UFC 317, man. So just getting into the first fight we got here, the absolute butchering here, coming from the rejected Walmart version of Skips from Regular Show. That is Niko Price. He's gonna be taking on Jacoby Smith, who's the biggest favorite on the card, and I'm gonna be going with Jacoby Smith. Okay, honestly, I think by however he wants. You're going against a 10-0 guy, Jacoby Smith, who's riding a solid amount of hype. He's coming off of a brutal knockout in his last performance, and he's gaining a little bit of UFC experience and credibility right now. And against Niko Price, who has none of it. He's got all the experience in the world, but none of the goddamn hype or credibility, man, because this guy has a shit ton of losses. There's a lot of holes in his game. And when I look at Niko Price, man, there's a reason why he's such a massive underdog. It's like not impossible for him to get this one done, but Jacoby Smith, man, is just, he's younger, he's faster, he's stronger, he hits fucking harder, and I think that Niko Price is a guy who leaves his chin up there in the air. It's a bit vulnerable, and he can get cracked with some nasty shots. He's been knocked out before, he's been finished in general, and God knows he's been beaten. So I'm gonna be going with Jacoby Smith probably by a knockout here. It's the first fight of the card. I think he's gonna be looking to make a statement, and the dude can crack. 8 out of 10 of his wins are from knockouts or TKOs, and the dude has some solid USA big bad wrestling in his back pocket as well. In his Contender Series performance, or maybe it was his debut, whatever the fuck, I don't remember, but the dude looked great in the grappling department. So he's well-rounded, and I think he's going to show, and I'm going to talk about it a lot in the next fight, but it goes to show how good you need to be and how well-rounded you need to be able to just get in the UFC. So these young prospects, man, they're getting better and better and raising the bar. And I feel like Niko Price here, he's not a bad fighter by any means, but man, there's just so many holes in this game, and I've never really looked at a Niko Price performance and been like, damn, that was a nice one. I'm really impressed by Price. I feel like he's getting sent to the wolves here. Jacoby Smith is well-rounded, powerful, he's quick, and I feel like the dude is a good mold for this weight class, and I'm going to be going with him by knockout. Maybe a decision here if Price is able to survive the storm that Smith's going to bring early on, but I think even then, Smith, he doesn't have any submissions on his record, but I think he might want to utilize the grappling if he isn't able to take out Niko Price within that first round and a half, but the dude, I feel like, can take this fight by however he wants. He's powerful, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be putting him on notice here very soon. So moving on up next, man, to the best friend of Frank Ocean, Peyton Talbott taking on Felipe Lima. I'm honestly surprised that this fight is so early on the card, but that might change. Who the hell knows? Because I know that, again, we lost Costa and Kopylov, so who knows how things are going to switch. But I love this fight, okay? And I love it because I think it's going to be a high-paced fucking scrap. Both these guys are well-rounded. They're powerful. They're quick and young. And honestly, this is just one of these prospect versus prospect matchups here. You have Peyton Talbott, who's 9-1, and that one just came motherfucking recent. And then you have Felipe Lima, who's 14-1. It's just the goddamn opposite, because the only loss he has on his record was the very first fight he ever had in MMA. So the guy is on a 14-fight win streak, and he's the favorite here. A lot of people are going with Lima, but you know what? I'm going to be going with Peyton Talbott, all right? I'm not giving up on this motherfucker, all right? I said a couple of months ago, or at the end of 2024, that Peyton Talbott, he's going to be, one of the best prospects for bantamweight. This guy's going to go far. Maybe he'll get exposed here and there, but I'm not going to give up on this motherfucker, okay? I really believe he is that good, but man, I don't want to say he's getting fed to the wolves here, because both these guys are just young, hungry prospects who are well-rounded and pretty solid in all regards, but primarily are both strikers. Not to say that they can't mix it up on the ground. I mean, Talbott, that's hard to say because he got fucking fraud checked here by Barcelos, who isn't anything too crazy in terms of talent level. So the grappling of Peyton Talbott is going to be a big red flag here. But you know what? I'm going to be going with Peyton Talbott. I feel like if it's just going to be a striking battle, okay, and if Talbott is efficiently able to improve from the Raoni Barcelos performance and is able to shuck off a lot of the takedowns or stuff a lot of them, and even if Lima does get him down, if he's able to efficiently get back up and not let him do any devastating ground and pound or let him get close to these submission attempts, and it really does just play out primarily on the the feet. I feel like Lima, for as good as he is on the feet, this guy has fantastic kicks. He's very quick, very dynamic, very light on his feet. You know what I mean? So Lima is a dangerous striker with some solid pop behind his shots, but Talbott is a heavy fucking pressure fighter. He brings a very high output on the feet. The dude's also pretty dynamic, and he hits fucking hard, so I feel like if it just becomes a striking battle, I feel like Lima is a bit susceptible to when fighters apply really heavy pressure, and he absolutely beat the brakes off of Miles Johns, but there was a couple moments where when Miles John was actually getting the fuck after it and putting the gas to the motherfucking pedal, or the pedal to the metal. I fuck that shit up every time, bro. Lima was getting caught with some big shots, and I don't think that Miles Johns is nearly the level of striker that a Peyton Talbott is. So honestly, again, if Talbott is able to efficiently learn from the Raoni Barcel's performance, which I think he can, okay? There's a reason why he is an underdog, and there's a reason why a lot of people are not picking him here, because, again, that's a red flag when you're going against a guy who's as dangerous on the feet as he is on the ground like Lima. Again, they're both primarily strikers here, but Lima is just a bit more proven on the ground, has a bit more submissions on his record here, and again, he didn't have to get fucking fucked up by a guy like Raoni Barcelos, who, again, is a solid fighter, and he just beat the shit out of Garbrandt, but he's not crazy in terms of talent level, and he's already almost 40 years old. So for Talbott, I'm hoping and thinking that this will kind of be a learning experience for him. He's had 6 months to kind of cook up here, go back to gooning with Frank Ocean, and I'm not just going to give up on the guy, okay? Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where one of these guys is going to really get a solidly big fight after this. Not a big fight, but maybe someone around that Garbrandt level, and everybody's going to be hyping him up as the next big prospect. And whoever loses this, it's just unfortunate because they're going to get sent back down. God forbid get sent to the goddamn apex, but it's a prospect versus prospect matchup. I feel like it's going to be very high paced from the start. And considering Talbott is a heavy pressure fighter, and I mean, so is Lima. Lima gets the fuck after, and he also sets a pretty heavy pace. Again, very dynamic on the feet, so I could see him maybe catching Talbott here. But either way, I think this is going to end in some kind of finish. I think it's going to be a brutal back and forth kind of war here. Both guys are going to be cracking each other, busting each other up. But if Talbott can survive the storm and throw a higher output, which I think he will, I think he does have the more bit of volume that he throws here. Lima does as well, but I would argue that Talbott does have the higher output, the higher rate of significant strikes per minute here. So I'm going to be going with Talbott to survive the storm on the ground that Lima might be able to bring and be able to outdo him in terms of the striking battle here. So I know he's an underdog, and I know that he looked fucking goofy in his last performance, but in terms of the striking against Barcelos, it did look good, and Lima is just dangerous as fuck, man. Like, whoever loses this, there's no fucking shame. They're still going to be able to go far. Both these guys are young, and they're great fucking talents here, and I absolutely love this fight. So moving on up next here, man, to Johanita Dinitz versus Alvin Hines. I'm not going to fake hardcore, y'all. I've never seen a goddamn Alvin Hines fight. Johanita Dinitz was originally going to face Justin Tafa, and I thought he was going to knock him out, and I'm going to be predicting the same for this fight against Alvin Hines, okay? I'm going with Johanita Dinitz by knockout here. I mean, if this goes the distance, I really don't want to see that, man, all right? When these heavyweight blobs are going the goddamn full 3 rounds, it's usually not that entertaining, and it's usually kind of just a safety bit of a win there. Like, Johanita Dinitz, I could see him just trying to pace it out, and if he does kind of rock Alvin Hines, maybe he's not going to follow up with combinations, or just is kind of going to coast a little bit. We just saw that with Sergey Pavlovich beating Rosenstruck. So these heavyweights, you don't fucking know sometimes. We all know that, and you got Joe Rogan, he's going to be here. These heavyweights can end it the entire time. It's an entirely different sport. People forget, man, but I'm going to be going with Johanita Dinitz. I feel like he is going to be hunting for the knockout. He's coming off of a pretty brutal, I don't want to say fraud check, because, I mean, Martin Tybura, the gatekeeper of all gatekeepers, the Apex Hall of Famer, he is a solid fighter, especially for heavyweight standards, but Johanita Dinitz just had nothing on the ground for him, okay? Like, the back and forth exchanges on the feet, say whatever you want about it, but Tybura was very efficient with taking him down and beating him the fuck up with brutal ground and pound. And that is the only loss on Johanita Dinitz's record. And you have Alvin Hines, who's 7-0, and again, I've never seen him fucking fight, but he does have 3 knockouts and 3 submissions here. So he is probably a bit of a well-rounded fighter, whereas Johanita Dinitz is a former Glory kickboxer, and he's going to primarily want to keep the fight standing. I don't know how much he's improved since the Martin Tybura fight, but the dude is going to need to develop a bit more in the grappling department, man, because Tybura, he is solid for the blob by heavyweight standards, but he's not a crazy talent here, and Tybura was just beating him the fuck up. So maybe Hines, if he is able to efficiently mix it up, because he does have a few submissions on his record, maybe his grappling is someone solid, but I don't know here. And Johanna Dinitz is the favorite for a reason, and I think the dude is a good striker, pretty solid, and he can fucking crack. And both these guys are around the same size and stature. They're both 33 years old, so I'm going to be trusting in Johanna Dinitz to beat up Alvin Hines here, okay? But moving on up next now to the prelims, going with Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borshchev. I'm going to be going with the underdog and Borshchev here, okay? And here's the thing, you guys. Terrence McKinney versus Borshchev, I feel like it's going to be very fucking high pace in that first round, okay? And that's going to be mostly because of Terrence McKinney, man. This guy has never gone to the judges' scorecards in the UFC. He's either getting these crazy fucking finishes, whether it be on the feet or on the ground, or he's getting the exact same thing done to him, man. McKinney, dude, he is a finisher in all regards, so he is a well-rounded fighter, and he brings a very high pace to his fights. But the thing is, man, he's so beatable at the same time. Like, if he's making it out of that first round, like, usually the opponents, that's when they really start to take over, and they're really going to beat the fuck out of him or figure everything out and adjust to the heavy pace. And for a guy like Borshchev, you look at his 8-5 record, and you go, okay, well, he's one loss away from being 8-6, and it's just like, that's not that crazy of a record here, man. Like, it's pretty on the rough side of things. But honestly, the reason why I'm going to be going with Borshchev here, man, is because when I look at McKinney, he does have the reach advantage. He is younger, he is faster, and he hits fucking harder. But the thing is, if he's not able to take guys out of there, especially in that first round, and things don't go exactly as he wants, and the finish that he's really aiming for doesn't go his way, I feel like Borshchev has gained enough experience in the UFC and has fought solid enough competition, I mean, to the where I think that he'll be able to survive the storm, because Borshchev has never been knocked out. That's what really convinced me to go with Borshchev. He's never been knocked out, and he's only lost by submission once. So when I'm looking at that, man, like, the guy is very hard to finish, and when you have a guy like McKinney who purely relies on getting the finish, I think that Borshchev has enough experience now in the UFC, and he's a bit older here, to where I think that, yes, he's going to get beat the fuck up in the first round, but his chin is good enough to where I think I'm going to be going with him to survive that storm and really outlast McKinney and start taking over in the second and third rounds. Maybe he'll get some kind of a late finish, because again, McKinney's always been fucking finished, so I don't think this one is going to the judges' scorecards no matter who wins. But I think Borshchev's going to survive the storm that McKinney's going to bring, and I think that McKinney, on the other end, he's got a big point to prove here. He's kind of one of these win one, lose one fighters, and he does bring constant excitement, but at what fucking cost, man? Like, the guy is racking up so many losses on his record, and maybe we'll see a similar thing to where Edmund Shabazian was in a similar-ish position where he just, like, if he couldn't knock guys out of there in the first round, he was always going to lose. But then we just saw against Petrosky actually slowed down a bit, and yes, it kind of was a boring as fuck fight, but he didn't actually really follow through when he actually was rocking Petrosky. Really just kind of wanted to save his cardio a bit and actually make it to the judges' scorecards. Maybe McKinney, because he's young and he can improve, so maybe he will have like a similar kind of attitude here. But I'm going to be trusting in Borshchev to survive this storm, and maybe this is a dumbass pick. He's an underdog for a reason here. Maybe this is a stupid fucking pick, but I'm going to be trusting in Borshchev to survive that storm and be able to bring a heavy pace back to McKinney after he kind of gasses out after that first round, okay? Because both these guys have high output on the feet. I feel like it's going to be a barn burner and end in a finish regardless, but I'm going to be trusting in Borshchev with that Mount Rushmore of a daggy beard he's got protecting him from the biggest shots of McKinney here, okay? Moving on up next, man, to Amil versus Jose Delgado. Another prospect versus prospect matchup here, man. We have an 11-0 Amil versus a 9-1 Delgado. I'm gonna be going with Delgado. I'm very torn on this one. Like, I'm looking at that plus money on Amil, and I really want to fucking cash on it, but I'm gonna be trusting in Delgado here, man, because both these guys are well-rounded. They both are good. Amil, I feel like, does have a bit of the power advantage here. The guy lands pretty devastating knockouts, and he's coming off of an impressive win. Split decision, yes, and he did slow down a bit against William Gomez, but William Gomez is the guy that beat Joe Anderson Brito, man. People forget, man. Say robbery or not, but still, that's an impressive win from Amil. And I feel like that he has had a bit more experience now in the UFC and a bit more credibility, to whereas Delgado only has 2 fights here. Amil has powerful goddamn striking in the early rounds, so I could totally see him cracking Delgado and totally beating him up there and really taking him out of there. The guy has a versatile stance, and he has very dynamic attacks, and he is resilient. Here's the thing, like, the fact that he did go to a split decision, sometimes when you do go the distance with certain guys against, especially someone like William Gomez, it's almost more impressive than the people that are on the come up and they're just knocking out everybody in one round. And when you actually are getting tested and they have to go to the distance, or somebody's in front of them that they can't finish, like, they're usually slowing down or getting beat the fuck up after that. So it's kind of a good thing when you have a guy like Amil, who, yes, he can get a bunch of flashy knockouts. The guy hits fucking hard, but the fact that he's gone the distance a couple of times as well is a green fucking flag. So those are kind of the strengths of Amil here, but I feel like the weaknesses for him, the fact that he's already 35, and when you're looking at a lighter weight class like this, and 35 years old, you're kind of at the very end of your prime, so it's a bit of a late start to the UFC for him, which is very unfortunate. And also the fact that I said he has a couple of submission wins, it's really only one, okay? It's one submission win, so in general, like, he can get a takedown here and there and shit like that, but his submission game isn't anything too crazy, so he's just a bit unproven on the ground. So I feel like that Delgado does have the grappling advantage, because Delgado's a guy who I feel like is just kind of as good on the ground as he is on the feet. He's very explosive and powerful on the feet, but his grappling is very fucking slick as well. He's good with submission entries, and the guy has clean takedowns to where I could see Delgado mixing it up to where he'll be able to have good exchanges on the feet with Amil in the striking department. And then if he wants to be able to mix it up and take the fight to the ground, maybe look for a submission, I feel like he's going to be the fighter in this scenario that's going to be much more susceptible to doing that. Because Amil, man, like, the guy kind of does have questionable cardio under the fire. And yes, again, he did go in the distance in his last outing, but still his output kind of gets greatly reduced, and there is kind of possible issues of cardio there as the fight kind of goes later on. So I think Delgado, man, the guy is just a bit more well-rounded. He's a dangerous finisher. He's got good grappling. He's the younger fighter by like 7 or 8 years, so I feel like that's going to be playing into his favor. He's going to be quicker here. But the things that definitely do make me hesitant to pick him here is because, again, Amil getting up there in age might play more into his favor, because he's kind of at the very tail end of his prime, and you have Delgado, who's just now entering his prime, if he's even there yet, and he also has a lot less experience at that top level. He's had a lot less fight, not a lot less, but a solid amount of less fights in the UFC, and I feel like he's been facing worse competition than Amil has. And I don't know, man, like, competition can kind of be everything here. You got to keep that into account when you're going against these fighters, especially young ones like Delgado. So there is potential concerns there with the experience gap, and also durability concerns, because I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to hang with Amil's pressure and power, because the guy gets the fuck after it strong, and he is powerful as fuck on the feet. So I can honestly see Delgado maybe getting cracked here and Amil getting a knockout, but I feel like the guy's chin is good enough, and he's quicker enough and more well-rounded to where I'm going to be trusting in Delgado to get this one done here, man. Moving on up next to Vivian Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. I'm going with Tracy Cortez because she's the favorite and she's better. Moving on up next, man, to Jack Hermansson versus Gregory Rodrigues. I believe this is now the first fight of the main card here, but I'm going to be going with Gregory Rodrigues, okay? He had a pretty fucking sweet, arguably fight of the year candidate. Maybe not that exactly, but I think it was a great fucking scrap against Jared Cannonier. And Jared Cannonier ultimately showed a big experience level in that fight, because Rodrigues came out fucking strong. He was getting the fuck after it, landing big fucking shots. And don't get me wrong, there were moments in the fight, especially in like the third round, where it was kind of a bit of a back and forth at times, but Cannonier really showed his experience up there, especially at the higher level, and it wasn't his first fucking main event by far, okay? You know what I'm saying? Rodrigues, he isn't too young. He's 33 years old, but when you're looking at kind of the upper weight classes, like someone like middleweight, it's not too young. He is in his prime, and he has a lot of room to grow, because the guy is solidly well-rounded. He has great ground and pound down there, and his takedowns are pretty slick, and the guy has high output and powerful striking on the feet, to where, yeah, he's well-rounded, but I feel like Cannonier was just a level above. And Cannonier's a good fucking fighter, also very well-rounded, hits fucking hard. He has a really good chin, so he's super hard to fucking take out of there. So I don't think that performance said anything against Rodrigues. I think that the cardio was very questionable here, and if there is going to be someone that bites him in the ass going against a guy like Hermansson, who Hermansson has a lot more experience in the UFC, you know, used to be ranked, and he fucking disappeared for a year and a half here, but now he's back. The people's champ, all right? Jack Hermansson. The fact, though, that he's been gone for the year and a half, I feel like is ultimately going to be the thing that bites Hermansson in the ass, because ring rust, it is a real thing, and when you're going against a guy like Rodrigues, who is such a heavy pressure fighter, and he cracks that fucking hard, and Hermansson, he's got a 24-8 record here, like, he's been beaten a solid amount of times, okay? Like, he went and beat the shit out of a prospect in his last outing in Joe Pyfer, but this is a 3-rounder. So I feel like that Rodrigues, the cardio concern, because he did kind of die out after that first round or two against Cannonier. Not to say that he didn't have moments in the third, because he did, but the cardio, I feel like it's just could be a bit of a question there. But also, he was setting such a heavy pace to where it's like, I feel like most fighters would kind of be gassed after that. So Hermansson definitely has the experience advantage, and he definitely has the cardio advantage. And Hermansson's well-rounded. Solid grappling, especially on the defensive side of things, and the guy is a solid striker. Both these guys have around the same level of output. But I feel like that Hermansson, considering the ring rust and the fact that he's been out of there this long, I feel like he's going to be a lot more susceptible to getting cracked with big shots. And I could see Rodrigues knocking him out, or even if it's not going to be some kind of knockout or ground and pound TKO coming from Rodrigues, I think the fact that it's a 3-rounder bites Hermansson in the ass. If this was a 5-rounder, all right, if this was some Apex main event, I'd actually be going with Hermansson here. But the fact that it's 3 rounds, I feel like it gives Rodrigues just enough time to work that he won't be able to die down, and he'll be able to take advantage of his high output and much harder hitting power. And Hermansson, the guy has a solid chin. The guy has good cardio. The guy has more experience here. But he's 37 years old, so he's almost fucking 40. Father time is nobody to fuck with, my boys. And the fact that he's had this much of a layoff of a year and a half, like, I think ring rust is a real thing. I think he's the underdog for a reason. I could totally, clearly in my fucking head, like some goddamn Bill Cipher shit, I could see it to where Hermansson could get the upset here. Like, the guy has all the skills to beat a guy like Rodrigues, but I'm going to be trusting in the power, the athleticism, and just being the more active fighter in Rodrigues. They're both well-rounded, but I'm going to be trusting Rodrigues to get this one done. Moving on up next to he cannot afford it to lose, my brother. Renato Moicano taking on Beneil Dariush. The odds are definitely a lot smaller now than where they were the first time this fight was booked around UFC 311. And I picked Moicano for that fight, and I was pretty confident in it. Obviously, it fell through, but I'm still going to be going with Moicano now for this one. But I'm going to be honest, I'm a lot less confident in it, okay? Like, for some reason, there's something in the air. I could totally fucking smell a Beneil Dariush upset, whether it be some kind of knockout or whether it be him just being the better grappler. I don't fucking know, but Dariush, kind of like Hermansson, is another fighter that's been out of the cage for so fucking long. The difference is Hermansson was coming off a win and just disappeared to the goddamn nether portal. But Beneil Dariush was coming off of 2 brutal knockout losses, so you could argue that there is a pretty good fucking reason why the guy took that much time off. So I understand and goddamn support why that Beneil Dariush had to take that much time off. But like I was saying earlier, I really do believe that ring rust is a real thing, and I think if anything's gonna really come back here and bite Beneil Dariush in the ass, it's gonna be the time off. Okay, I don't think he's gonna be faster than before. I don't think he's gonna be stronger than before. I don't think he has just as much of like a point to prove. He kind of can sense, and we kind of can sense that like this is probably going to be his last time out. Maybe if he wins or maybe if he loses, you know what I'm saying? And going against a guy like Moicano, who's been relatively very active and really doesn't show any signs of like leaving the UFC or thinking about retiring anytime soon, I think that's going to play into Moicano's favor here. But honestly, I could see Dariush totally getting the upset. Like, he is well-rounded, his grappling is pretty fucking good, and the guy has solid striking and can fucking crack. And the thing about this fight is that I could see it primarily playing out in the feet. Like, when you kind of have these grappler versus grappler situations, usually it kind of neutralizes each other, and like, they either try and shoot each other a couple times and it doesn't work, so the rest of the fight's a kickboxing bout, or the entire fight is just going to be a kickboxing bout. So, honestly, when I look at that, I kind of want to lean towards Beneil Dariush, because I kind of could think that he is the bit of the better striker here, but I like kind of what I see out of Moicano in the feet. It's solid, but obviously he does rely on the grappling, so when you're going in a fight where obviously I don't think there's going to be too much grappling on display, I feel like they're going to neutralize each other. On paper, that should work against Moicano, but I think the fact that he's been more active and his striking has been improving a lot in the past few performances, I think that he'll be able to hold his own, land slightly the better shots. I don't think he's necessarily going to knock him out of there, but I don't think that Beneil Dariush is going to knock out Moicano either. Moicano's chin is solid. You know, he can get caught with big shots and he has been knocked out before, but I think that the guy can hang in there with whatever Dariush is going to throw at him, to where I'm going to be going with Moicano to win this one. Despite all the old man Dariush allegations, these guys they actually have a lot of similar features here, because they're both 36 years old. They both have the exact same reach. They're both around the exact same height. So they actually have a lot of the same traits here. But let me tell you something. I am not an old fucking man like Dariush, alright? Beneil Dariush, man, I just think that he's gonna be a lot slower in there compared to what we're used to, and he doesn't have the highest output usually anyway. So I feel like if the fight does play out on the feet, I think Moicano is gonna be able to piece him up there, and I think that he'll just land the better shots for the judges' scorecards. Again, I don't think either guy is going to be able to knock the other out. Maybe a submission if one guy's grappling really is just that much superior to the other one, or maybe some kind of ground and pound TKO, because we know how good Moicano submissions are. We know the same with Dariush, but Moicano just has that better ground and pound to where I could see him really beating up Dariush down there if the takedown defense or the grappling doesn't hold up and Father Time really is biting his ass and all the ring rust and shit like that. But I could see Dariush winning this one, but I'm going to be trusting in the activity of Moicano. He's going to be the sharper fighter here, slightly a bit more output. He's been more active, and I feel like his striking has improved enough to where, yeah, he'll be able to hang with Dariush on the feet and not be prone to his biggest fucking shots. So I'm going to be going with Moicano on this one, probably by 29-28 decision here. Moving on to the featured fight of this card, all right? It's a banger, my boys. We got Brandon Royval taking on my boy, all right? My boy Joshua Van, my favorite flyweight, and I didn't just hop on the train after his last performance, all right? I'm super happy that this guy is gaining a lot of traction, gaining a lot of attention and fans, and the fact that this fight's on the main card, I absolutely do love that. I think it deserves all the attention. I've been a fan of Joshua Van for a while now, man, because there's so much to love. The guy is so fucking active, takes on all contenders, and man, the fact that he's so young, has such a high output. I'm pretty sure he has the most significant strikes per minute in the UFC, pound for pound, of any weight class. So the guy is great on the feet. He's got beautiful, all right, I dare say pretty looking fucking boxing, bro. Like, the guy is just so satisfying to watch on the feet, man, because the way he just, his technique, it's there. The power, it's really been developing. We saw that against Bruno Silva. And the guy's grappling, especially on the defensive side of things, is solid. We usually don't see him shoot too many takedowns, and he really isn't in too many scrambles or shit like that. But on the defensive side of things, man, like, and when guys are really shooting heavy on him, like, he's efficiently able to get back up pretty quick. So Van is the future, and I think that this guy could definitely become fucking champion one day. Especially when you look at Royval, Pantoja, especially Pantoja, and Moreno, guys like that, for flyweight standards on the latter ends of their career, and Van is just getting fucking started. He's not even in his prime yet. So I got nothing but fantastic things to say about Joshua Van, and I was really impressed by his performance going against, who the fuck was that? Bruno Silva, because, man, I think that going into that fight, a couple of things I was saying, for as good as Van could be and already is, I think that the fact that he's a bit small for the weight class, all right, he'd be the S-tier atom weight, but we don't have that shit here, so he's a bit small for the weight class, and I think that going into that fight, I was saying that he did lack the power that he needed to really hang with the upper echelon of the division, but man, fuck the size things, all right, this guy's just as small as Demetrius Johnson, he's the GOAT of the division, and the fact that his power, man, like, the fact that he was able to get the most knockdowns in any fight ever against Bruno, or any flyweight fight ever, I should say, against Bruno Silva, man, like, he fucking cracked him. The knees were hitting hard when Silva was coming in for his takedowns, and just in general, like, that exchanges on the feet, man, like, Silva was landing nice with the kicks, but Van was piecing him the fuck up and landing hard, so the power has really developed, and it's really there now. I could argue that he did have a better performance against Silva than Manel Kape did, and I rate Manel Kape pretty high for the division. So all the Joshua Van hyping up right now, because I haven't even started talking about Royval yet, okay? All the Joshua Van hyping up in the world I could give him, I'm going with Royval to win this one, okay? And I was saying all that shit about Van to really preface how good he is and how far I think he can go for the division, but I'm going with Royval, and I'm confident in it. Not to say that I can't see Joshua Van winning. I want Joshua Van to win, and there's a reason why the betting odds are so close, but honestly, I think Royval should be a much bigger favorite. Like, we've seen how he is against prospects, man. Like, he beat the shit out of Tatsuro Taira and really showed levels there and was able to get the better of him. So Royval already shut down a solidly good prospect in Taira, and I believe that was his last outing. But man, and that was a fantastic fight. But I just think that Royval is too good right now. Like, he's one of these Robert Whitakers or a Max Holloway or a Kobe Covington where it's like he's just the next guy, even like a Yuri Prochazka. He's like the next best guy in the division that's just not the champion because the champion's already fucking beat him multiple times. That's the thing here, and I think Royval is that. Like, you look at that 17-7 record, and that isn't anything too great, but when you look at his actual losses in the UFC, he's only lost to Pantoja, second greatest flyweight of all time, and he's only lost to Moreno, and he got that win back in the rematch. So Royval, man, like, I just think this guy is only losing to the very, very elite of the division, and he's well-rounded. He's able to get submissions, he's able to get knockouts, and even in like back and forth wars, like against Moreno in the rematch, or like against Tatsuro Taira, the guy can hang in there. He has a solidly high output, he's well-rounded, he's got solid grappling base, but the striking is fucking clean to watch as well, man. So Brandon Royval, he hits fucking solidly hard for flyweight, and I feel like he's able to hang in there in a lot of dogfight scenarios, and he just just has the better experience. Yes, he has a lot more losses than Van's and barely any more wins, but you gotta consider who it's against. You know what I mean? Royval's been in the UFC for a longer time, and Joshua Van, even though he's active as fuck already for only being in the UFC for 2 years, I think that this is a guy who can definitely become champion a couple years from now. He has all the tools to do it, and he's going to keep on improving. He's going to keep developing the power. He's going to keep getting quicker in there. He's going to keep applying more fight IQ. You know what I mean? So Joshua Van has a very high ceiling, but I just don't think this is his time right now, my brother. Like, if he was going to go against Moreno in September, I'd probably even lean towards Moreno to win that one. And again, I'm rooting for Van. I know how good he is, but I just think that when you're dealing with this upper echelon this soon, and it's a month turnaround, like, it's just this crazy situation where he's fighting twice within the same month, and he's going from number 15 or whatever the fuck it was, somebody who Bruno Silva, who I feel like was definitely the worst ranked flyweight, and don't get me wrong, it was a great win from Van, but Silva was pretty weak in terms of like standards of competition going against a guy like Royval, because Royval is the fucking man besides Pantoja for the division. So, and he's very close to earning his way back to another title shot, even though Pantoja's already fucking beat him. So I feel like Royval, man, this is just his time right now. He's older, but not too old to where it's like father time's getting the best of him thing. Like, he's in the middle of his fucking prime. I feel like he's going to be able to hold his own on the feet against Joshua Van, probably going to get the better of him in the striking exchanges, and the guy will be able to mix it up. If he wants to shoot a few takedowns in, I think he has all the power to do so. And Joshua Van, he's got great cardio and defensive grappling, so I think he'll be able to hold his own on the feet and be able to hold his own on the ground. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to get submitted or get knocked out, but I think it's going to be a back and forth war, a very high-paced scrap, and I want Joshua Van to win here, but man, I'm going with Royval. Like, I just think he has the better experience. He's a bit more of the well-rounded fighter. His striking is good enough to hang with Van, and his chin is good enough to where I don't think he's going to get knocked out by Van, even if Van is landing clean and having a super high output. I just think that Royval's chin is good enough, his striking is good enough, cardio, grappling, fight IQ, yada fucking yada, bro, to where I'm going to be trusting in Brandon Royval to get this one done, all right? It's a fantastic fight. I think it's going to be a very high-paced banger, and I'm really looking forward to it. Very glad this is on the main card, and I actually would have kind of preferred Manel Kape versus Royval, but this is still a banger, and I'm very impressed by the quick turnaround of Van to where I ain't going to complain. I'm just hoping that this doesn't come to bite him in the ass, and it's going to be one of those situations where he might have been rushed a bit too quick, and he goes on some losing skip, but I feel like that he's young enough and talented enough to where even if he does lose to Royval, like, that doesn't mean he's fucked. He could totally bounce back later this year and probably get a win there. So I'm going to be going with Brandon Royval. I'm confident in it, even though I'm rooting for Van, but this is going to be a great scrap, man. I'm glad it's getting the attention it deserves, and I'm glad that everybody's giving the praise to Joshua Van that he deserves as well. So going with Royval for that one, I'm going to say a 29-28 decision. Moving on up next to the co-main event, another flyweight fight we got here. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. I am so fucking tempted to pick Kai Kara-France, y'all. I kid you not. Like, I'm looking at that plus money, and I'm looking at everything in Kai Kara-France's arsenal, and man, I'm really tempted to go with him as the underdog here, but I'm gonna be trusting in the GOAT run that Pantoja is on right now. Because Kai Kara-France, I really do believe that he's underrated. Like, he's only lost, like, just like I was saying about Royval, like, he's only really lost to like the very elite of the division. I'm not including that Amir Albazi fight, all right? Like, everybody knows that was a fucking robbery. If you go and rewatch the fight, whether you're watching it live or if you just look at the stats, whatever the fuck, dude, Kai Kara-France clearly won that fight. So he's really only lost to like the very upper echelon of the division. You look at that 25-11 record, and it's not anything too crazy, but most of those losses were outside of the UFC. So Kai Kara-France, man, I think the guy is good. He's a powerful fucking striker, and he has very good takedown defense and defensive grappling in general. But man, I just think that Pantoja is on an absolute tear right now, and he has so much momentum, and the guy has been more of the active fighter. The guy is well-rounded too. Like, he's been developing so much on the feet over the past few years, so where his striking is becoming fucking good, man. And the guy's grappling, like, we all know how good it is. Very clean takedowns. The guy's good in scrambles. The guy racks up good submissions, so he's well-rounded, and I feel like he's able to hang in dogfight scenarios. And whether Kai Kara-France lands that clean right hand, all right, and is able to throw adversity Pantoja on the feet or really just crack him a couple of times, I think Pantoja's chin is good enough. Like, he genuinely has one of the best chins in the UFC to where I think he'll be able to hang with Kai Kara-France's biggest shots. The fact that it's 5 rounds, I don't even know whose favor that plays into here, because I think Pantoja has more 5-round experience. I feel like he has the better cardio, but that's giving more time for Kai Kara-France, who's going to be the much more powerful striker, to kind of find that right shot. Because even if Pantoja, let's say he's winning a 4 4-0 decision going into that 5th round. I feel like Kai France has the power to maybe knock him out in the 5th. And another thing that's concerning me as well is that Australia and New Zealand, right, these champions are really coming together, bro. It's all that Craig Jones work that they're doing. I'm pretty sure that he's the motherfucking culprit that's making them so good. I mean, we all know that Alexander Volkanovski was already well-rounded, already had great wrestling, but Jack Della Maddalena has been really improving as well, and he really showed that on the ground against Bilal Muhammad. So, man, if Kai France can apply that same training, and he's also been working with Craig Jones and is really able to improve his takedown defense to where even if Pantoja gets him down, if he's able to efficiently get back up around 15-20 seconds and keep the fight standing on the feet, that could totally happen and totally fucking play into Kai France's favor. And I know he's a big underdog, but I really can see him winning this one and getting some kind of knockout. I do think the guy is underrated. He hits very hard for flyweight standards. He has a shit ton of knockouts. And with the underrated takedown defense, I mean, dude, I feel like he could present a lot of problems to Pantoja. I know these guys fought once-ish before, but it was on Tough, so it didn't even really count as an official scrap. So I don't know, man. Pantoja right now, the run he's on, and is just racking up name after name after name, and he's arguably getting better and better after every single fight. I feel like this is just his time right now. He's 35 years old, so he's barely right there for the 35-year-old curse. So I could see the curse applying. I know Volkanovski just beat it in April. You know, it's possible to be able to get past that unless Drake bets on him. If Drake bets on Pantoja, I'm putting the fucking house on Kai France. But I know the 35-year-old curse is a real thing. But man, like Bilal, it used to be the 170 weight classes and below, but then when Bilal broke it, like they just stopped counting that, so then they just went to lightweight and below. Then Alexander Volkanovski broke it. So I do think it's possible. Like the odds are low for these guys when they're getting up to this age in the lighter weight classes, but man, if there's any time for Pantoja to keep racking up the wins and keep the momentum going, I think that Kai France is a beatable enough opponent to him to where he might be able to beat him and Father Time in the same night here, okay? Because Pantoja, I don't think he'll be the champion in a year or two from now. I just think with him getting up there in age, there's going to be somebody who comes along and beats him. Maybe it's a Royval. Maybe it's a Van. I don't fucking know. And maybe it could even be Kai France, but I think that Pantoja has a mission that he's fucking on right now to become the flyweight GOAT. Doesn't have interest in moving up anytime soon. He just wants to really clear out the division here and take on all contenders. And I can appreciate that out of a champion, man. He's active, he's well-rounded, and he's impressive as fuck to watch. And he puts on some pretty fun fights. The fight against Usyk, I know a lot of people say it was a robbery, but I personally had it 3-2 Pantoja. I think that Usyk kind of fucked himself in that 5th round. I had it 2-2 going in the 5th, but in the fights against Moreno, Royval, like the guy puts on exciting scraps. And he was able to officially make quick work out of Kaya Sakura, who I understand didn't even deserve the title shot to begin with, but I feel like Pantoja is just on a tear right now and is on a mission to become the flyweight GOAT, to where I'm going to be trusting him to get it done. Kai France, he could make massive improvements in the meantime. We haven't seen him fought since UFC 305, or he knocked the fuck out of Steve Usyk, but I feel like Pantoja, his activity, his more well-rounded skill set, and the fact that he's the champion right now with much more momentum, I'm going to be going with Pantoja to win this one. I say a 48-47 decision. If Kai's takedown defense really holds up, and he totally make a lot of improvements in the defensive grappling department to where I could really see him giving Pantoja problems, because again, if it's a standing battle here, and the fight really does play out on the feet, even though Pantoja really has been improving in the striking, the guy is solid and does have a really good chin. Kai France hits hard enough to where I could see him maybe getting it done, but I'm going to trust in Alexandre Pantoja being the fucking man right now. I say a 48-47 decision here. And moving on to the main event, boys. I'm fucking hyped for this one. We got Ilia Topuria, mate, taking on Charles Oliveira. I'm so tempted to go with Oliveira. Like, I really am. I've seen enough Charles Oliveira edits to where I'm like, holy shit, I got a tear in my eye. Not to sound like Michael Chandler here, but it makes me want to go with Oliveira so bad. But I'm going with Topuria. I'm going with Ilia Topuria to get this one done. I'm saying a 3rd round TKO or some kind of brutal knockout in general, but sometime in like that 3rd or 4th round, I think Topuria will be able to get it done. I don't think he's some kind of world ender in the 1st round. If anything, that's kind of relatively his weakest round. I feel like he does get better as the fight progresses. He's still dangerous as fuck in there. Don't get me wrong. Like, the guy is so well-rounded. He has such good boxing. He lands clean and hard to the body, and he's able to rock motherfuckers on the feet to where it's like being the first guy to really take out Volk truly truly take out Volk. I know Makhachev did it on the short notice or whatever, but that was a blob of a Volk. And being the first guy to knock out Max Holloway. I mean, Gaethje was the first one to knock him down in the previous performance. And even then, man, like, Holloway has a really fucking good chin. And I know a lot of people were saying, oh, it's just because he bulked up to 155 and then he wasn't meant for featherweight to cut back down. Motherfucker, that's been his weight class his entire goddamn life. What do you mean he's not meant for featherweight and that the weight cut was too much? I know he bulked up to go against Gaethje, but man, like, I feel like that's a bunch of bullshit excuses from the Holloway fans to where it's like, I think Topuria's power really is that fucking good, especially for featherweight standards. Now, the things that concern me here about Topuria here is where he definitely has fought some solid grapplers. Like, he was able to beat Volkanovski, who's a great, well-rounded wrestler, and he was able to submit Bryce Mitchell, I think, or maybe knocked him out, but he was able to beat Bryce Mitchell and kind of ragdoll him on the ground, and Mitchell has solid grappling, and on top of that, his first like 10 wins in MMA or something like that were all via submission. So the guy has really good grappling in his back pocket. He was able to efficiently kind of take down Max Holloway a couple of times, and Holloway's got pretty good takedown defense. So keeping all that into account, Topuria has great grappling and he has great striking on the feet. He's going to be the much bigger finisher in terms of the striking, but I don't think he's ever faced someone that's as good on the ground like Charles Oliveira. Like, Oliveira has the most submissions in UFC history, and the guy is dangerous off of his back and just good on the offensive end of the grappling as well, man. Like, Oliveira is nobody to fuck with on the ground. Like, the guy has dangerous grappling to where if Topuria knocks him down and Oliveira's on his back there and Topuria isn't able to really follow up with all the right shots and Topuria gets him in some uncomfortable positions on the ground, I could see Oliveira surviving the storm and maybe getting some kind of submission here. Because Oliveira, even though Topuria is on a tear right now and has the potential to get the greatest back-to-back-to-back wins in UFC history, I dare motherfucking say, Oliveira definitely has much more experience at the top. He's had much more main events, and the UFC's really pushing for Topuria to become the next guy. They really believe he could sell and that he's carrying these two nations on his back. He's a finisher and he's a draw. But Oliveira, man, he just has so much more high-level experience. He's been around the UFC for a lot longer. He's the older fighter by a kind of significant margin here. It's like 7 years, so that could play against Oliveira as well, and I think it might. Like, if this fight happened 2 years ago, I'd be going with Charles Oliveira, but the fact that Oliveira is 35 years old, so he's at the very, very end of his prime, and Topuria is 28, so he just fucking entered it. I don't know if that's going to work for Oliveira in his favor or against him here, but I just think Oliveira, especially in like the Michael Chandler fight, it just wasn't that impressive of a win. You know what I mean? I think Oliveira is still able to beat most of the lightweight division, even at the age he's at right now. I feel like he's able to still make clean work of him, but man, like, that Chandler win just wasn't anything crazy, man. And don't get me wrong, he did make it competitive and close against Tsarukyan, and Tsarukyan wasn't able to finish him, even though that Oliveira, everybody says, oh, he gets cracked every fight, oh, he gets chinned every fight. The thing is, man, about that, like, he made it competitive against Tsarukyan and did take a round off of him. I didn't think it was a robbery. I thought Tsarukyan won, but I want to say this about Oliveira getting cracked and all the allegations like that. Yes, he does get knocked down in most of his fights. Yes, he does get cracked. Yes, his chin is very susceptible to getting big power shots landed on him, and he fucking goes falling to the ground. But he doesn't actually really get finished. Like, Makhachev was the only guy within the past damn near decade to really finish Charles Oliveira. The huge win streak he was on, and then he had the legendary, I could cry just thinking about it, the legendary Charles Oliveira title run. Like, yeah, he was getting cracked and getting rocked and even knocked down, but nobody besides Makhachev was really even able to finish him. Like, Chandler wasn't able to finish him, Tsarukyan couldn't finish him even after Makhachev already did it. So Oliveira does get rocked and he does get fallen to the ground, but man, his chin isn't anything crazy. It's on the weaker side of things, but he's a fucking dog in there, man. He's able to survive, and against Topuria, whose only performance at lightweight was against Jai Herbert, like, that's a concern because Herbert was able to rock Topuria. So I'm kind of questioning, is the power of Topuria going to be able to translate the same up at lightweight? I think it will. I really do think it will, because I don't think it's going to be as devastating, because taking out Holloway and Volkanovski like that is no fucking joke. I don't know how the hell Josh Emmett survived all that bullshit, but when I'm seeing how Topuria is still so young and has had proper time to bulk up now to 155, and he's been ready for this move. He's had his eyes on Makhachev for a long time now, and he's had a few months to really bulk up. He was already having problems cutting down to 145 anyways. I think that also on top of that, like, featherweights usually translate pretty well at lightweight. Like, Oliveira used to be a featherweight. Poirier used to be a featherweight, you know what I mean? Volkanovski and Holloway, when they stepped up, they do pretty fucking good. So these featherweights, and a lot more examples in general, man, like, they are usually able to translate their power and skill sets pretty well enough to hang with the lightweights up there. Like, I feel like it is a pretty big jump up in size. That's the thing. So you wouldn't really think at first, like, oh, Topuria's power, it's definitely not going to translate. He's going to go and become a pillow puncher up there. Maybe not that, but you know what I'm fucking saying? But I don't necessarily think that's the case, man. Like, Topuria definitely is on the smaller side of things for 155, because you would think only like a 10-pound jump in weight class, like it couldn't be too much here. But man, the lightweights comparatively to the featherweights are just a lot bigger and bulkier and lengthier of fucking dudes. You know what I mean? So that could really play against Topuria here. And again, just the uncertainties of how is his grappling going to do against a guy as elite as Oliveira on the ground? Is his power and just skill set in general going to be able to translate to the mold of lightweight? How is he going to do in like these 5-round scenarios if he's not able to take out Oliveira after the first couple of rounds? I know that he beat the fuck out of Josh Emmett for 5 rounds, but Oliveira is not no motherfucking Josh Emmett. So there's so many question marks here with Topuria for this fight specifically, to where I think it makes it more intriguing, and I can understand why a lot of people are going with Oliveira. But dude, I'm trusting in Topuria's skill set, man. Like, he's the younger, faster, stronger fighter who has much more to, I feel like, still prove. Like, Oliveira, he's already doing the full violence clubs and he's showing off their mansions and shit. Like, he's already had his time really at the top, and Topuria does have a lot of years left in his prime. I don't think we're gonna even see all of it. The dude wants to bounce at 30, which is so fucking unfortunate, because the guy's the heel of the UFC right now, because fuck John Jones. He's just too evil of a heel to even call him a heel. Topuria is the heel of the UFC right now. He's exciting and he's a finisher, and there's so many fun matchups you could do with him. So I want to see him stick around for a few more years. I'm hoping that he actually sticks around beyond 30, but at the end of the day, man, this guy, I just feel like is about to become the man, because Oliveira was the man already, and he is great. Oliveira's well-rounded. He hits hard on the feet. He's got underrated striking. He has solidly high output. He's able to hang in a dogfight scenario, and the grappling, especially off his back, he's dangerous as fuck. He's got good cardio. He has good fight IQ. Oliveira is so skilled. I really believe he could still to this day beat most of the division, but Topuria, I feel like, can beat all of the goddamn division. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe that's gonna age like shit if Oliveira goes out there and beats him, because man, if Topuria gave up the belt and everything like that just to get this opportunity and he loses, I don't know what the fuck's in store next for him. Does he move back down, or is he just gonna get a like number 1 contender fight after this? It's kind of a situation where if Topuria loses, and he's a big fucking favorite right now, man, this situation of giving up the belt could really bite him in the ass. I feel like he's really relying on getting this win and really hunting down Makhachev. But man, Topuria, I'm going with him, because I just think even though Oliveira is very well-rounded, he is good on the feet and on the ground, I think that Topuria, I don't think his grappling is as good as Oliveira. I think that even if the fight does get to the ground, he'll be able to survive. And I think that the striking, his power is just going to be too much. Yes, Oliveira gets knocked down, and it's really hard to actually finish him, like I was saying, when that does happen. I think Topuria's power and really good fight IQ and well-rounded skill set, good cardio as well, I think it's going to be able to efficiently matter to where he's going to take out Oliveira on the feet. That's why I was saying the 3rd or 4th round TKO. I think Oliveira's going to be able to survive the 1st round, probably the 2nd as well, because Topuria isn't some kind of world ender or crazy fucking monster in that 1st round. But I do think the guy is able to maintain a high pace throughout the fight. I think that his power is able to efficiently be there, whether it's the 1st round or the 5th. Like, it's always there and it's always a threat. And for a guy like Oliveira, who lost that 5th round to Chandler, was getting beat the fuck up, like, that goes to show even more that, like, Topuria, I feel like, can catch him with the right shots, especially if he's repeatedly landing nice to the body and it's just going to wear down Oliveira, and he's going to be more prone to getting cracked up top as well. Like, I think Topuria has the power, the well-rounded skill set, everything that you need, the speed, the cardio, to where I think he's going to knock out Charles Oliveira, man. He's got all the tools to be a champion for a long time. He's young and he's hungry and he's exciting as fuck, to where, man, I wouldn't mind Ilia Topuria taking over this division, man. Like, I think he's great for the sport. I think Oliveira is as well. I'm so fucking excited for this fight. I think it's going to be really high paced. I'm very curious about the question marks for both men here. And man, I'm just really excited for it. I would have much preferred Makhachev versus Topuria, or maybe like an Oliveira versus a Holloway. But you know what? It is what it is, but as Holloway motherfucking says, dude, I can't complain about this shit. So it's a great scrap. I'm really excited for it. It definitely is carrying the card, because the pay-per-view is kind of relatively just average here, but this main event really is spectacular and it really carries, and I'm so fucking excited for it. I'm going with Topuria by the later rounds, KO or TKO. And moving on now, man, to the blanks of the card. We got the underdog of the card, we got the locks of the card, the wild card of the card, and the card rating. All of them are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll explain them as I get to it. So just getting into the underdog of the card here, man. Which underdog pick that I chose am I the most confident in to really get it done? Here's the thing, man. I think I only chose 2 underdogs for this card. I think I went with Borshchev and Peyton Talbott. I'm going with Peyton Talbott to get this one done. Peyton Talbott, out of all my locks of the card, bro, I literally am undefeated besides 1 this year for this bullshit. And it was Peyton Talbott losing to Raoni Barcelos. So here he is, all right? The tables have motherfucking turned, baby. And now he's the underdog here. I'm trusting in Peyton Talbott to get this one done. I could totally, as a fucking 5-year-old would say, there's a bajillion, gillion, willion fucking % chance that Talbott can fucking lose this fight. I could totally see Felipe Lima beating his ass, but man, I'm trusting in Peyton Talbott to get this one done. And I think that he's going to be my underdog of the card here, sitting at a nice plus 150 right now. Moving on up next to the locks of the card, which of my picks overall am I the most confident in? And I do not believe these motherfuckers are losing, bro. I'm going to put Jacoby Smith on here for sure. There's a reason why he's the biggest favorite of the card, and I just don't think Nico Price is all that to where I think he's going to get his ass beat, and I think Jacoby Smith is going to be one of the locks here. And I'm also going to be going with Gregory Rodrigues to beat up Jack Hermansson. I could totally see Hermansson getting the upset, but I'm pretty confident that Rodrigues is going to be able to go out there and just be the superior fighter and be able to handle and bring back whatever Hermansson throws at him. So those are going to be my 2 locks of the card. I usually have a bit more, but for this one, man, like a lot of these fights are very close in terms of the betting odds, and even the main event and the co-main where like Pantoja is a huge favorite and Topuria is a massive favorite. I could totally see Oliveira and Kai Kara-France getting it done to where I'm going to put a bit of respect on them. So my 2 locks of the card here, I'm going with Gregory Rodrigues and Jacoby Smith to get it done. The wild card of the card is somebody who, in my opinion, is being pretty overlooked and overshadowed and can really shake up the entire division in the motherfucking sport if they get a win here and not really getting a lot of attention towards them, but I think they have a shot at getting it done. I'm going to be going with Kai Kara-France. I could see Kai Kara-France being the guy that really does beat Pantoja and is able to find all the right shots. His takedown defense could look on fucking fire there, so I'm going to be going with Kai Kara-France to actually get the upset of all fucking time here, baby, for the flyweights, and is able to become the champ. I'm putting him as the wild card of the card. And moving on to the last one here, the card rating. What am I going to rate this overall card from 1 to 10? A 1 being as absolute shitty of an Apex card as you could possibly get. It's fucking trash. A 5 being average. There's some good fights. There's some mid fights. It is what it is. It's just an average fight card. There's good and bad to it. And a 10 out of 10 being like a UFC 300. Like, it's absolutely fantastic. Constant action, excitement, and name value. So those are pretty much the standards right there. I'm going to give this card a 5.5 out of 10, man. I really love the main event. The co-main is fun as well. The main card, Royval Van, Benil Dariush, Moicano, Hermansson Rodrigues, like these are good scraps, and the prelims are full of really fun prospect versus prospect matchups to where I think we're going to see a lot of fun matchups on this card. There are going to be a lot of finishes, a lot of back and forth high-paced scraps. I mean, Hyder, Amil, and Delgado's a banger. You got fucking Talbott versus Lima. There's shit like that, man. So the card does have some solid depth if you kind of know your names here, but in terms of just the card quality in general, it's just very, very slightly above average, but pretty much just average. It's an average pay-per-view. I really wish that this was the golden standard for just what an average pay-per-view should be, so we don't have to sit through the 312s and the 313s and shit like that, man. So this is just an average pay-per-view. I feel like Costa versus Coppola being taken off definitely made this card solidly worse, but at the end of the day, I feel like this one's going to be fun, and then you're going to have Dana White hopping on afterwards. What? Yeah, what was the question? Yeah, this is why you don't hate the matchmaking before it actually happens, all right? This is why we make the fights we do. You can never judge a card until it actually happens. That's exactly what he's going to fucking say here, man. But if the main event wasn't as great as it was, like, this card would be even lower, in my opinion. Like, it's a fantastic main, and there are some good scraps here. There's a little bit of depth, but it's just an average pay-per-view. It's an average Joe motherfucking schmo pay-per-view. It's solid, but it's nothing too crazy here. A lot of people are hyping this shit up crazy, and I just don't think it's all that, in my opinion. So that is going to be it here for the video, man. Thank you guys so very much for making it this far into this entire Yap session. I really appreciate y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please do. Let me know what you think of my picks and my thoughts. Give me yours in the comments below. Which fights are you looking the most forward to? Who are you going with? Who are some of your locks of the card? Let me fucking hear it, man. And please give this video a like. Please hit subscribe. It is endlessly fucking appreciated, my boys. So hope you have a good time watching the fights this weekend, man. Whether you're by yourself or with your boys or whatever the hell it may be, I hope it's a good time, man. So I appreciate y'all a lot. Thank you so very much, man. Hope you have a good one, boys. All the smoke here. Appreciate y'all, and I will see you all next time.